Hello everyone and welcome back. In this lesson we are going to start our reactive Angular journey. You are probably already somewhat familiar with the Angular framework and you are wondering what is the best way of building Angular applications in a reactive way using RxJS properly. The first thing that you are probably asking yourself is what does it mean to build an application in reactive style? Well, the best way to understand that is to first inspect an application written in a traditional imperative style. We're going to do that in this lesson. Later on, we're going to take a part of our application written in an imperative style and we're going to refactor it into reactive style. We're going to compare the two solutions and analyze the advantages and inconveniences of each approach. Let's then start by going over a small application that is currently written in traditional imperative style. What we see here on the screen corresponds to the home component that we see here under the home folder. We can confirm that by going here to our application root component and seeing that our application is made of a side menu that we can trigger by clicking here on the hamburger icon, and as we can see we can access here a series of screens. Now a lot of these screens are in draft state and we are going to be using them later on in the course. The screen that we are focusing on this initial section is the courses screen that we see here. This contains here a list of material course cards. We can see that besides the menu, we also have here a router outlet in our Angular application. If we now open the application routing configuration and we can navigate to that file using Command-Shift-O, we're going to type in here routing and we're going to open the routing module. We can see here that to the root path of the application we have mapped the home component. Let's have a look at it. The home component corresponds to what we see here on the screen and it's a very simple Angular component. Let's have a look at its HTML before going over here the TypeScript part. So as you can see, we have here the title, all courses, and we have here a tab group containing two lists of cards. We are looping here through beginner courses, and here on our second tab, we are looping through advanced courses. Now let's go over the TypeScript part of this component. So as you can see, in this home component, we are defining here two mutable state variables. We can see that we have here the beginner courses, which is an array of courses, and we also have the advanced courses of the same type. If we have a look at the course type, this is a plain TypeScript interface where we are defining here a course ID, a description, a long description, and a few other properties. We also have here a sort courses by sequence number function that we're going to be using in our application in order to sort a list of courses using the sequential number field. Now going back to the home component, if you remember, we mentioned that this component is written in imperative style. So what does that mean exactly? As we can see here in ng on init, which is triggered whenever the component is initialized and it gets triggered only once, we are using here the Angular HTTP client in order to call our backend, and we are hitting the /API/courses URL. Now, a small side note about HTTP requests in our local development environment. This HTTP request, even though it's hitting /API/courses, is actually targeting our REST server that we are running in our second terminal. So I'm going to open here the endpoint that is getting hit. We are hitting with this HTTP request the endpoint under localhost 9000 /API/courses. And how is this working? Well, this request here would normally hit localhost 4200 /API/courses. But our Angular CLI development server is running in proxy mode and is proxying all the requests starting with /API to port 9000. You can find the configuration for these proxy settings here under the file proxy.json. So as you can see, the Angular CLI is proxying everything starting with /API to localhost 9000. This is a very useful setting in order to run our Angular frontend using the Angular CLI development server locally, and this will allow us to easily redirect HTTP requests to a separate server also running in our machine. This HTTP backend could be written in a completely different technology than Angular, for example in Java, C# or Python. In our case, we are running a small node process that is serving this data here. Now, this data is reaching the home component via this call to subscribe. So here we are using the Angular HTTP client, which is an observable based client. So the call to get is returning us here an observable. An observable, like the name suggests, is going to allow us to observe its behavior over time by subscribing to the observable. The observable might potentially emit multiple values over time. The observable might eventually not even emit any value at all. During its life cycle, we can receive the events emitted by the observable here by this callback that we are passing to the subscribe call. The observable might potentially end its life cycle, although that is not mandatory. There are two alternative ways of ending the life cycle of an observable. Either the observable is going to error out or the observable is going to complete. Either one of those two things happen or none at all. In this case, the HTTP observable returned here by this get call is going to emit one value and one value only whenever the reply from the backend arrives here at our frontend. So this callback here, this function, is going to get called whenever we get the HTTP reply back from the server containing this payload here with a series of courses. Now, when we receive here this response, the first thing that we're going to do is to extract the payload property, and we are going to sort the courses here using this function. So we are going to sort them by the sequential number field. So going back here to our REST payload, we can see that we are accessing this property here, payload, and we are taking this list here, this array that we have here with a series of courses, and we are sorting this array here by this field, the sequential number field. By the way, if you are looking for a Chrome extension in order to properly format JSON, like I'm showing here, you can use the same extension as I'm using. This is the JSON Formatter extension that we can find here on the Chrome Web Store. Going back here to our program, let's see now what we do with the courses that we got from the backend. So we are going to loop through the courses and we are going to filter the courses based on category. We are going to create here two arrays, the beginner courses and the advanced courses. These two variables are then being passed here to the view. We are looping through them using ngFor, and we are displaying here the two lists of courses in our tab group. So this small program that we have just analyzed is a good example of how using a service such as the HTTP client, which is an observable based service, does not mean that our program is automatically written in reactive style. In fact, we can see that we have written our program just like we would have written it if we were using plain JavaScript callbacks or promises. In the next lesson, we are going to then take this component and we are going to refactor it into reactive style, and we are going to talk about the benefits of that new approach.